Erik Halterman of RotoWire here with 6 players to pick up this weekend, starting with speed demon Jesse Winker, who had just 3 career steals through his first 7 Major League seasons. In his last 5 games started, he has 5 steals, giving him 10 on the year. He's not actually fast all of a sudden. His sprint speed percentile's up to the 17th percentile. Really, this is just that Washington likes to run this year, and it's a sign that Winker is in good health, and a healthy Winker is an all formats outfielder for me. Even if the speed doesn't stick around, he's playing every day, typically hitting in the heart of the order, always had decent pop, decent average, and now decent speed too, and a pretty long track record. Speaking of long track records, how about DJ LeMahieu, who just made his season debut this week after a fractured foot cost him most of the first 2 months. LeMahieu definitely fits on someone's roster in your league, given that he's eligible at first base, second base, and third base, meaning he's eligible at both corner and middle infield as well. He's not going to do anything exciting, but if the playing time is there, he's going to be one of the steadiest compilers in the league, and the playing time should be there. LeMahieu has made 3 straight starts since his return from the injured list, and hey, that competition at third base, Oswald Cabrera and John Birdie, doesn't seem too tough. LeMahieu is steady and nothing more than that, but steady in a good lineup and a good park, that's good enough for a lot of teams. Much less steady would be Mark Vientos, who is getting an opportunity at third base with the Mets now that Brett Beatty has been sent down, and there should be plenty of runway given that Beatty has now had 600 Major League plate appearances and has a 606 OPS. If Vientos proves he's better than that, he's going to be around for a long time. Through 14 games, he's hitting .295 with 3 homers, and he's cut his strikeout rate down to 21%. It was at 31% last year. He's also improved his barrel rate from 11%, which was already good, to 15%, which is great. Now, Vientos still was striking out too much in the minors. He had a 29% strikeout rate in 31 AAA games, so I don't want to get carried away here. He could certainly bust and lose his job in a couple weeks, but the opportunity's there, as is a decent amount of prospect pedigree for Mark Vientos, so let's see where this goes. Moving to the mound, Tylor Megill has been interesting at times before, but he's never paired good peripherals with good health and opportunity at the same time. Megill in his first 2 seasons had a 3.71 SIERA, which suggested that he was actually a pretty good starting pitcher, but he had a 4.73 ERA, and then last year battled health issues and had a overall dud of a season. This year, Tylor Megill got hurt at the start of the year, a shoulder strain in his season debut, missed nearly 2 months, but first 2 starts back, 16 strikeouts against just 3 walks in 12 innings pitched, only 2 earned runs. It's a great pitcher's park, Citi Field, and so if Megill can just stick around once Christian Scott returns, he could be there for several months in a great park with some really promising peripherals. So let's see if he can put it all together finally this season. Next, we have Reed Garrett, who is our 3rd straight Met, which is simply far too many Mets, and I'm sorry about that, but Reed Garrett needs to be mentioned this week. Mentioned him early in the year as a setup man worth grabbing because his ratios and strikeouts were so great that even if he was never going to get any saves, he still has a role to play. Then Edwin Diaz lost his job last week and now hit the injured list with a shoulder impingement. Diaz will return eventually, and Adam Ottavino is also with the Mets and could get some of the saves, but Reed Garrett should be the main option and should get some real runway here for at least a few weeks, and hey, if all goes well, maybe earns himself a trade to a contender at the deadline where he keeps getting saves. Don't want to get carried away here at all, especially because Garrett did have a couple rough outings recently, but he grabbed his 3rd save of the season on Thursday, so the Mets are clearly still happy using him in the 9th inning. And hey, a 2.54 ERA that's backed by a 2.64 SIERA, strikeout rate north of 35%. This looks like an elite reliever. He belongs on your roster for at least the next few weeks. And finally, Cade Povich, one of the more interesting pitching prospects who will debut at some point this year, and I'd go out and stash him now because that point could be quite soon. The Orioles just announced that John Means and Tyler Wells are both due for season-ending elbow surgery, and the team has said that Povich's name is on the tip of their tongue. They're having daily conversations about him. The back of the rotation in Baltimore right now is Cole Irvin and Albert Suarez, who I guess you could pick up, but they're not exactly exciting high-ceiling guys. They're high-floor guys. Povich, as a young prospect, could beat out both of those guys and could have a spot in the rotation at a fine pitcher's park with a great chance at wins coming from a great team around him. He could get that spot for most of the remainder of the season. Povich is the 74th ranked prospect at RotoWire, so that means he's a good but not elite pitching prospect. This isn't somebody who's about to blow the league away, but it's somebody who's supposed to be pretty good and could have a shot in a great circumstance very soon. 33% strikeout rate, 2.35 ERA, and a 1.06 whip in 10 AAA starts for Povich this season. He may not need too many more starts in the minors before we see him in the big leagues. For more names, check out the Saturday edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast with me and Ryan Boyer.